Thanks for clicking on this video. If you want to follow along, the links to the companion worksheet are in the description below. So today we're talking about a trigonometric form of a complex number. Now usually when you learn complex numbers, you learn standard form or rectangular form. But here we're talking about trigonometric form. And this is similar to the difference between plotting points in rectangular versus plotting points in polar. And I'm going to put links to videos in the top left for you to reference those subjects if you haven't seen them yet. So for these first three, we want to find the trigonometric form of the complex number in standard form so that the angle is between 0 and 2 pi. Now the first thing we want to do is with these points, with these numbers, we want to graph them. And so if you don't know how to graph complex numbers, I'm putting a link in the upper left-hand corner. Go ahead and click on that video where we go over how you plot points, how you plot these numbers in complex. So the way we do this is we have the real and we have the imaginary. And so the real part is -2. So we go 2 spaces, -2 spaces in the real direction. And then we go up 2i squared to 3. Now, square root of 3 is about 1.73. And so it's about 3.5, more or less. Now you can put the I here, or you can put the I at the end here. Some people prefer it this way, and some teachers, some textbooks prefer it this way. It doesn't really matter. Now what we need to do is magnitude. So the way we can do that is, think of this as a right triangle. This is -2, this is 2 square root of 3. So if I use the Pythagorean theorem, if I square this, I get 4. If I square this, I get 12. 12 and 4 makes 16, and the square root of that is 4. Now the other thing to notice is that if I take away the 2, this is a 1, square root of 3, and 2, these form a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. Or in radians, this is pi over 3, and up here this is pi over 6. So the magnitude is 4. That's how far away this number is from the origin. But what about the angle? That's this right here. So if this is pi over 3, this is the rest of it that should add up to pi. So that's 2 pi over 3. So now we've got our magnitude, now we've got our angle, so now we can write this in trigonometric form. And there's 2 ways. The first way is like this, and it's going to depend on how your teacher or how your textbook prefers. So here's one way to write it. We put the magnitude out front, and then we put the angle next to sine and cosine like that. The alternative way is like this. Just like that. It communicates the same information, communicates the magnitude and the angle, just writing a few less letters. That's all. Number 2, we do the same thing. Square root of 3 minus I. So in the real direction, we go square root of 3. So that's going to be about here. 1, 2. And then we're going to go down 1 in the imaginary. So what we want is we want to figure out what is this magnitude. How far away is this from 0? Well, this is -1 down, square root of 3 over. If I square that, I get 3. If I square that, I get 1. So square root of 4 is 2. That is our magnitude. And this turns out, again, to be a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. So this angle is pi over 6, and this angle is pi over 3. I don't need to write the other one. The pi over 6, though, I need. because pi over 6 and whatever our angle is, because like all things in trig form, the angle always starts at the positive x-axis and goes around. So this is our angle that we want, plus this that we know adds up to 2 pi. So this is 11 pi over 6. Because if I add these two, I get 12 pi over 6, which simplifies to 2 pi. And since that's our angle and that's our magnitude, we can now write this in trigonometric form. So 2 cosine of 11 pi over 6 plus I sine 11 pi over 6. That's the long form. The short form is 2 cis 11 pi over 6. Now the third one, we're going to go 3 spaces in the real direction and 2 spaces in the imaginary. Now unfortunately this does not make a 30, 60, 90 right triangle, nor does it make a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. If I square 3, I get 9. If I square 2, I get 4. So the magnitude is square root of 13. Now how do we figure out this angle? Well, the only way to do it is to use our calculator. Now because this is a right triangle, we know that this is the opposite and this is the adjacent. So I use tan inverse of 2 over 3, and that gives me 0.588. Because remember, we're in radians. So if that seems kind of small, that's because you're thinking the angle should be in degrees, but the direction stated, nah, it has to be in radians. So now, we've got our magnitude and we have our angle. So we can write this. So cosine of 0.588 plus I sine of 0.588, or the shorter version, square root of 13 CIS 0.588. All right. Now on the flip side, now we have these in trigonometric form. Now we want to write them in standard form. So what we do is we figure out what are these trig ratios. So cosine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2, and sine of 30 is 1/2. So I distribute in that 3. So I have 3 square root of 3 over 2 minus, and I'm going to put the 1/2, 3 halves out front, with the I behind it. And that's all we have to do. So with number 5, cosine 210 is negative square root of 3 over 2 plus I sine of 210, that's negative 1/2. And we're still multiplying by 8. So when I multiply by 8, this cancels out, leaving 4. So negative 4 square root of 3 minus 4i. And there is our complex number in rectangular. Over here for number 6, cosine of 5 pi over 6, that's going to be negative square root of 3 over 2 plus I times 1/2 times square root of 2. So we get negative square root of 6 over 2 plus square root of 2 over 2i. Now the last one, we have a cosine of pi over 12. And we're just going to use the decimal for this one. So we have square root of 5 times 0.966 plus I times sine of pi over 12 is 0.259. And now we're going to multiply in square root of 5. So 0.966 times square root of 5 is 2.16. And then we multiply square root of 5 times 0.259. And that is 0.579i. All right. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more, click the subscribe button. To support the channel, click the links in the description down below. Thanks for watching. And remember, the best way to understand something is to do it.